We're with Erynn Miller, a co-president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, Eastern Connecticut, getting ready to begin Division III week, which is a national week sponsored by the NCAA. That will get underway on Monday, tonight. Erynn, before we get into the schedule for Division III week, you've been involved in SAAC for 4 years. Just talk a little bit about what SAAC is.
SAAC stands for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. The officers include myself as a co-president. Jen Tamazika is also a co-president. Sam Rossetti is vice president, and Christina Forsman is the secretary. And basically the group is just made up of 2 representatives for each team. We meet twice a month talking about different rules and regulations, different policies, student-athlete life, as well as different community service activities that we can get involved in as a group.
So for people that wanted to be involved as an officer for SAAC, how does that come about? Is it a year term, 2-year term?
It's on a 1-year term. At the end of each school year, the group has nominations, and we vote on who we believe would make the best officer for each position.
So you've got 4 officers.
Right, we
and
have
then
4 officers.
In terms of representatives for each team, how does that work?
Coaches will talk to their teammates. They may talk to Janice, who is the group advisor, and they determine who will be the best representative for their teams.
So if somebody was going to be a representative for their team, for SAAC, what would the things that they would be involved with SAAC?
Someone who is involved in community service, someone who is good at being a liaison between, their team and, say, the SAAC group.
So what about the people that, if you're a student athlete and you're on SAAC, are you bringing the concerns of your team to SAAC?
Right. We are, as a SAAC representative, we want to talk to your team on a weekly basis, seeing the things that they want to see improvements on, the issues that they're having as a student athlete, and we encourage our representatives to bring that feedback to the group so that we can talk about it, we can talk to Janice about it and see how we can solve those issues.
Well, if you guys make a recommendation to solve some kind of issue, whatever that happens to be, how do they put that into, how does the wheels get going for that? I mean, you recommended it to Janice, and what will she do with the recommendation?
The representatives bring it up as a group. We talk about it. We see exactly what we want done. So us as officers, we meet with Janice, before the group meets 2 weeks later. She will point us in the direction of who on campus we need to talk to and how to present what we want to that group.
Well, SAAC's involved in a lot of things over the course of a year, but just talk a little bit briefly before we go into Division III week. Talk a little bit briefly about what are some of the major events of SAAC.
Some of the major events include Haunted Happening, which is held in October. It's an event where kids around the community can come to the school and participate in Halloween-related crafts, activities. They can play sports with the student athletes. So that's something that's put on by SAAC specifically. In the spring, we really look forward to Special Olympics, which isn't necessarily run by SAAC, but as a group we like to get all of our teammates involved. And that's held at Wyndham High School. So that's a fun activity that SAAC likes to get involved in. And this semester we've mainly been focusing on the events for Division III week.
So you guys are really active on the campus. But does SAAC go beyond the campus level throughout the country? Does it go to regional, conference, national levels?
We do have our LEC SAAC meeting where we send a few of our representatives to take part in that, which is basically, the meetings that we have just on a larger scale. They talk about, what they do as a SAAC group, so you can bounce ideas back and forth with them. And there's also a National Leadership Conference that we send a few representatives to go to as well.
So do you think when they started SAAC way back, do you think it was to give the student athletes a voice in their athletic?
I definitely believe it was a way to give student athletes a voice. Even just having the 2 representatives speak for their teams, it's a way for each sports team to be heard. And we have I think 17 sports teams here at Eastern, and that's representing a lot of people.
I would guess that for the average person, you guys as student athletes bring up some concerns that probably a lot of other people would never even think was a concern.
Yes, I agree.
Right, but you band together and you probably have a lot of common concerns, even though you play in different teams.
Right, like, just everyday living, housing, priority points, the hours of the student center in Hurley. We have a lot of, time constraints where we can't necessarily do certain things. So as a group, SAAC can, help influence, different aspects of the campus.
It's a great organization. And so you said you've been involved with it for 4 years, right?
I have been involved for 4 years. For my freshman and sophomore year, I was a team representative. For my junior year, I was a secretary as an officer, and this year I'm a co-president.
And these positions are not paid, right?
No, they're not paid.
But when we talked earlier, you brought up something which I thought was really interesting, and I didn't know about it. Talk a little bit. One of the events that involves SAAC is the SHIELD program. What's that about?
The SHIELD program is an event that is put on for incoming freshmen that are looking to play a sport. It's put on, in the past it's been put on by Janice Patry. This year she kind of let us take the reins a little bit, and we were able to present it to the freshmen as a group, different experiences that we've had as student athletes, just things that they need to know about time management, different resources around campus that they can go to. So it's definitely a very informative presentation for the incoming freshmen.
In a sense, it's sort of like an orientation.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep, the SHIELD orientation.
Because I think once you've been here for a few years, everything seems to fall into place, and you don't even have to think about it. But if you think back to your freshman year, you probably had like a zillion questions when you came in, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the different services they offer around campus. Having someone explain to you what each, like the
card services,
the library, all of the tutoring centers that you can use. You wouldn't necessarily know it without an orientation like this.
And we didn't talk about this, but talk about, and this is sort of unique to Eastern in a sense, that the job that Janice does in terms of being an academic advisor, there are a lot of schools at the Division III level that don't have an academic advisor. Has that been helpful to a lot of people?
The most helpful thing, probably, as a student athlete, I love Janice. I think she's amazing. She does so much for the athletic department, and she's always willing to talk if you have questions about classes, about anything really. She's a huge resource for all the student athletes.
And it sounds like she pretty much stays on top of most all the athletes' academics.
Oh, yep, absolutely. As an underclassman, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to meet with her at least once a semester, so you can check in with her, so she can ask you how you're doing, what you need help with.
That's a lot of people to keep track of.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how she does that. Let's talk a little bit about Division III week, okay? It starts tonight with alcohol monologues, and then it's going to end on Sunday. It's culminated by the National Student Athlete Day celebration, which is a great thing. Let's start with alcohol monologues. Talk about what that is.
The Alcohol Monologues is a program that's being run by one of the professors here at Eastern, Dr. Tummers, who has been collecting letters of past experiences with alcohol and alcohol abuse from students. They're anonymous letters, so no one knows who's submitting them. Mm-hmm. But a lot of our student athletes are getting involved by reading some of those letters to the group, the audience.
To the audience?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way around it. Alcohol is a big factor in not just student athletes, students, everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's something that they're really trying to get a handle on, right? Mm-hmm. The alcohol at the college level. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, everyone sees that as a fun thing to do, but they don't necessarily see the abuse side of it and the negative impact it can have as a student athlete or just a student in general.
Oh, at the time you're doing it, you don't think there's any negatives to it,
mm-hmm.
but
it
sometimes
does
it's too
your
late.
Body and
it absolutely impacts your body.
Mm-hmm.
Now on Tuesday, we'll have the Faculty Mentor Forum over in the Student Center. Talk about that, Erynn, what that is.
Well, each team has a faculty member that's volunteered to be their mentor. We are looking to bridge the gap between the mentors and the sports teams. So by having the meet and greet, we're really just trying to, get the student athletes more involved with their faculty mentors.
And that the faculty mentor, it can be any faculty member on campus that wants to get involved.
Yep, it can
Right.
be any faculty mentor. A lot of the faculty mentors have played the sport that they're mentoring in the past, or they just really enjoy it. So having the faculty mentor is really an exciting thing because it's someone other than your coach that you can talk to about the sport you're playing.
And would the athletes necessarily go to the faculty member, the mentor, if they wanted to talk to them, or does sometimes the faculty people come to practices or games?
Well, student athletes are encouraged to go see their faculty mentor on a regular basis, but the faculty mentor is also encouraged to come to practices, come to games, as much as they possibly can.
It's a great thing for everybody involved. And then on Thursday there will be the Student Athlete Open Rec Night, and that will be in the gym.
That will be in the gym. As a group, SAAC had been talking about doing something that we could have all of the student athletes get involved in. There's not something necessarily just for the student athletes to hang out and have fun together. So we thought an open rec night would be a good idea since we all play sports. What better idea than have an open rec night?
And so there'll be a lot of activities going on at once in the gym, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll have volleyball nets up, basketball courts, soccer nets, a lot of different things going on.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It will be sort of an informal thing, just having fun, or are they going to organize teams and all that kind of stuff?
Nope, just very informal. Nothing too organized, just a relaxing night so that everyone can just hang out and have fun together.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then on Friday, and again, most of these days are associated with a on-campus game going on, whether it's lacrosse or baseball, softball. We can talk a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the Beautification Project. The Beautification Project, is that scheduled for Friday?
Well, because the spring sports have a lot of games on Saturday, we've designated Friday and Saturday for the Beautification Project.
Okay.
Which is just it's just a project where each team is designated a certain street surrounding the campus. They'll go out, they'll clean up all the garbage, and it's a way for us to give back to the community as a group. And all the sports teams will be involved, not just the SAAC reps.
So that would be like you're saying, if you have a game on Saturday, you would probably do it Friday.
You'd want to do it Friday,
Right.
right? Just so that there aren't too many time interferences.
So you're saying all the student athletes are involved in it?
All the student athletes will be involved. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that will be Friday and Saturday as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just talk briefly about the events that are going on, the home events. We have baseball on Wednesday at 4 o'clock at the Eastern Baseball Stadium. Softball against Salve Regina, that's a 4 o'clock doubleheader at the Eastern Softball Stadium. We have the Eastern Track and Field Invitational, which will be Friday, getting underway at 2 o'clock. Saturday will be men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, and I believe they've also added a home baseball game. So that'll be 3 events going on Saturday. And then in terms of these events that are going on, are the athletes that are not in season, are they encouraged to go and support those people that are playing?
Definitely. As a group, SAAC came up with this an adopt-a-team sort of program where we've highlighted one home game for each sports team during that week. So I believe Wednesday there's softball, Thursday there's baseball, Friday's the invitational for track, and then lacrosse is on Saturday. So as a group, each one of those games has been highlighted so the SAAC reps can go and tell their teams, like, hey, everyone's trying to get to this game on this day to try to draw a bigger crowd.
You know what I found out, though, personally, is that this surprised me a little bit, dealing with a lot of the athletes that some of them work in the office. There are a lot of athletes that don't know other athletes on this campus, which was surprising to me.
That's surprising.
That's a hard thing to do, though, to get. I mean, if you're playing a fall sport, you may not know someone that's playing a spring sport, right? Do you find that it's a big thing to try and get all the athletes to get to know each other?
Oh, that's definitely a challenge, and that's something that we are looking to do. We've been trying to do it this year. They'll probably be trying to do it next year. But as SAAC reps, it's their responsibility to try to get your team to go, even though, you might not necessarily know someone. The odds of someone on your team knowing someone on another team is pretty high. So, they can act as kind of the connection between
Exactly.
the team and another team.
I think it means a lot to athletes that are in season to have other people that are out of season come to the
Absolutely.
games. I see a lot, like in a volleyball game or a basketball game, I see a lot of athletes from other sports at those games. It means a lot to you guys,
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's definitely nice to have the support. Even if you don't necessarily know someone,
Yeah.
you know, on a one-on-one level, it's still nice to see that, oh, that person plays that sport and they're here to support, you know, our team.
That's what it's all about, really, especially at the Division III level. Let's talk about one last thing, Erynn, is the National Student Athlete Day, which is scheduled for Sunday at the Betty Tipton Room. What's that about?
National Student Athlete Day is a day where one member from each team is recognized for their academic success. And in addition to, you know, one member from each team being recognized for that, we also have a student shining star and a faculty shining star. And those are just two individuals that are very involved in the athletic department, and we want to recognize them for everything that they do for us.
Involved in what way? Or it could be in many different ways?
Many different ways, anything that in regards to athletics.
So one rep, there'll be one person chosen from each team
One person
to get the shining star.
Well, those are like the regular National Student Athlete Day winners. So one person from each team will get the National Student Athlete Day award. And in addition to that, SAAC as a group has chosen, you know, a student shining star and a faculty shining star. And those are the individuals that are very highly, they don't necessarily have to play a sport, but they're just very involved in the athletic department.
So how do they decide which athlete gets recognized by each sport? Does each sport, is that their responsibility?
The representatives talk to their coaches, who can talk to the team as well, and who they think should be nominated.
And what kind of things do they take into consideration for someone to win it?
Definitely GPA. It's more of an academic-based award. Obviously, athletics has some to do with it, and, you know, community service and that kind of thing. But the major part of the award is academic success.
Okay, great. So we're with Erynn Miller. We were talking about the makeup of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee and also Division III week that gets underway Monday, and they're going to start it off with the alcohol monologues over at the Student Center. Erynn, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.